For those that have not inserted the card, please do it. Otherwise, you cannot vote. The voting session is closing now. And the results are 215 believes that they are not adequate instrument, while 141 believes they are. Thank you very much. Second question. Should energy audits become mandatory for SMEs? Please vote. Yes.
Can we vote?
Yes. Great. You have your credit card? Just put your credit card. It doesn't cost money. Just do it. No, I'm not kidding.
Or the
Yeah,
hotel card.
whatever.
We should not vote. We are neutral.
The voting session is closing now. And the results are 298 believes they should become mandatory, 104 believes they should not become mandatory. Thank you. Third question.
It was the contrary, I think.
Well, was the country?
I think.
Go back to the...
It was the contrary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So 298 believes that they should not become compulsory. I'm sorry. I'm trying to drive a different path. And 104 believe they should. Okay. Now, question. Do you expect the EU economy to benefit from the measures proposed in the circular economy package? Please vote. The problem they have took out the question from the screen.
Yes. Yes.
I hope so.
Let's vote yes. Why not? Yes.
One of these.
No. It's
Here.
there. Yeah. No, but you should push bottom. Okay, the voting session is closing now. And the results are... Now, if you just don't keep the question there, I cannot read it. Anyhow. Do you expect... Yes, 267 believes that the EU economy will benefit from measures proposed from the circular economy. 47 believes they will not. Question number 4. Would more complex environmental design standards undermine the global competitiveness of European products? Please vote.
I'm sure I'm going to say yes. Because everybody wants to protect something.
There is a signal price.
Look, everything is green.
It depends on the advantage.
No, red.
You want to vote?
Stupid.
How many do you have?
Here, vote. The session is closing now. And the results are 338 believes that the more complex environmental design standards will undermine the global competitiveness of European products. Thank you. Next question. Do you believe there is significant demand for more green products? Please vote.
To take out from the next session, pre-register, not speak.
Voting session is closing now, and the results are 361 believes that yes, there is a significant demand for more green products. Thank you. Last question. The last question, can we put it on screen? Thank you. Should there be mandatory environmental criteria in public procurement? Please vote. Voting session is closing now. And the results are 294 believe yes, there should be mandatory environmental criteria in public procurement, while 119 believes they should not. Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to our friend, Daniel Calleja Crespo, Director General of DG Environment. He will try to give us answers in minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It has been a pleasure to listen to all the questions and to participate in this very, very interesting experience. Thank you also for allowing me to vote. I don't know if it was possible, but I have voted on some of the points, thanks to a credit card I got from the chairman.
This is an ID card.
I would like to say that it is extremely important that we have a very open and a very frank discussion on the biggest challenge which we have ahead of us. And the biggest challenge that we have ahead of us is ensuring this competitive, sustainable, this new model of growth which has been mentioned, because the circular economy is above all about changing the economic model, closing the loop, changing from the linear traditional model to this more sustainable process where whenever you are designing your product, you are consuming, you are producing, and then when you are recycling, you have this virtuous circle which can bring economic, environmental, and significant social benefits for our companies and for our citizens. The circular economy is also about skills, about innovation, about growth, about jobs, about industrial policy, because Europe needs more industry, and this is also something very important. I will try to answer the questions, but there were many, some of them a little bit more difficult than others, but I will do my best. First of all, je voudrais m'adresser à notre...
I'd like to start by addressing our French colleague who asked a question about a digital company and labelled products. He said a change of model was required and that the European Union must consider not only legal matters, but also voluntary measures. And I would like to express my agreement with his sentiments surrounding innovation. We've been working on voluntary options, on standards, and the eco-labelling of products and design, and not necessarily only working on binding rules, but a whole range of smarter measures which will allow us to bring about this change of model.
In that, I would like to answer the question of our Italian colleague from the Chamber of Commerce, who was putting on the table a very important point. Should we have more environmental information about the companies, and could the Chambers of Commerce play a role in this sense? And should the Commission propose something at European level? I think this is an issue which is very important. We have seen the vote on, is it likely that there will be more interest in green products? Information on the sustainability of companies is increasingly important. Sharing this information, using the Enterprise Europe network, using the Chambers of Commerce, it is a very important experience. But before proposing a European regulation on this, I would like to see if this can be developed on a voluntary basis by the Chambers of Commerce. Our colleague from Bulgaria, number 78, was asking for EU institutions to be more business-friendly. to go for simplification of rules, to cut administrative burden. And I would like to reassure him, this is the way in which we are trying to go. We are reviewing systematically European legislation. We are doing fitness checks. We are consulting before changing new rules. We are doing impact assessments, but we need to do more. And we need to know from you which are the areas in which there are problems so that we can improve the quality of legislation. Nuestro amigo de Iberdrola.
So to our friend from Iberdrola, he referred to the challenges posed by climate change and the very high cost of all of this for the European Union, this figure of 400,000 premature deaths a year, and the major role that electricity can play in the world agenda for decarbonisation, especially after the agreement in Paris. So it's extremely important. I'd like to congratulate Iberdrola for its initiative to cycle all the way to COP21 in Marrakesh, because that kind of initiative, cycling somewhere to prove your point, is a very good initiative. Yes, we have to promote investment. There's the polluter pays principle, and these are two absolutely fundamental principles that we feel. We've got the Horizon 2020, the Juncker plan, trying to strengthen investment and overcome the deficit we have of 500 million. All of this is absolutely essential, and we feel that the polluter pays principle perhaps is ignored a little. So obviously in the European Union we have to take all of these aspects into account, and the challenges posed by climate change, not only for us but for our industry as well.
110, which dealt with sustainable growth and the implications for SMEs, but more particularly the issues of access to markets. Here I have a different view, because our colleague was saying that he was seeing concerns for SMEs out of the trade agreements. I would like to say that trade agreements are also an opportunity. Opening up markets bring opportunities for our companies, and I think that we should also integrate this in our analysis. Internationalization is one of the ways for companies to grow. There are opportunities, and I think we should do more, and we should connect better value chains, and I think we should not look at this always from a negative viewpoint, because there are also important challenges, and in many trade agreements, SMEs can be the big winners. But we have to negotiate on a balanced conditions. We should not give more than we get. And this is, I think, the challenge. We need to make sure that the trade agreements are balanced and that the rules of the game are fair. Our German colleague, number 682, was wondering about the internal market and recycling, and in particular the extension to 24 months from 6 months in the extended producer responsibility schemes. I would agree with the intervention in the sense that we should try not to overburden the business, but I think also it is important to highlight that extended producer responsibility can play a role with minimal requirements, which is what we put, with incentives, and that take-back schemes are also a source of business opportunities. So I think we have to integrate this, and of course the Commission's proposal are under discussion, and we are happy to see whether in the discussion we have to move from 6 to 24 months. We see exactly how the discussion goes. Our colleague from Ireland, number 179, and the Chamber of Commerce, was saying that sustainability is not only environmental, it is economical, it is social, it is environmental, and that the EU should be leading on the circular economy without additional bureaucracy for SMEs. Your words were music to my ears. This is what we have to do. This is what is behind the strategy for the circular economy, and I think we need to work together, European institutions, member states, companies, regions, to make sure that we can succeed in this difficult challenge. Our colleague number 240 from Greece, I think your name, Pavlos, was mentioning the difficulties of access to finance in Greece, and I think we are very much aware about this problem. He was highlighting the importance of microcredits, and I would like to say, in situations of difficulty of access to finance, we need to mobilize national funds, European funds, and we need also to fight against delays in payment, because this is also a source of problems for the companies. We have venture capital, which we have to promote. We have the COSME program, Horizon 2020, the role of regional funds. This is a very important effort, and the improvement of economic conditions should also lead to an improvement of credit. Question number 18 from Austria was about the green economy in Austria, and how do we promote renewable energy to make sure that it takes into account the costs. And I think on this point, you are putting your finger on a very important issue. What we have to avoid is to prevent national subsidies that distort and restrain from sending the wrong message to investors. And one of the best ways to support renewable energy is by getting energy prices right. And it is by phasing out subsidies and other support to certain sources of energy which are not in the right direction in the process of decarbonization. We believe that there is also opportunities for innovation and that support schemes should be as much as possible market-based and well-targeted to the energy sources that really provide benefits for the whole society. And renewables is essential in our strategy. Our colleague from Latvia, number 318, was raising two issues in relation to management and to management of waste. The problem of municipal companies going up and private companies going down. I think we need both. We need municipal, but we need a lot of private companies that can develop because there are business models and new opportunities in this area. And he was also mentioning the problems of unfair competition with China. And I would like to reassure him in the sense that the Commission is trying now to take strong measures, trade defense instruments, whenever we see that there is unfair competition. Whenever we have complaints, we need to take action. We need to have a more balanced trade policy, and I think it is extremely important that we integrate it in our strategy. Our colleague from Turkey was at the back speaking about durability and the situation of candidate countries, and this was also echoed by our colleague from Albania. I think in relation to candidate countries, it is very important not to wait for all the negotiations, but to start looking at European rules and to start adapting and aligning the legislation in this area. This will facilitate trade, this will reduce the barriers, and I think we need to look at the whole range of measures, from energy, from raw materials, the situation of banks, all play an important role. Our colleague from Germany was complaining about legal uncertainty and imbalance in energy sectors. I think the Energy Union initiative tries to address this. Europe needs to have an energy union if we want more affordable, more competitive and more sustainable energy. And finally, para terminar,
to conclude, there was 429, the question asked by our Spanish colleague, which talked about having a fluid internal market, which was unable to compete if we were victims of fragmentation. And I fully concede that interconnectors here are key. You can't hope to have an internal market if some of the regions of Europe are isolated from an energy point of view. Energy must be affordable, and it must allow companies to compete if we hope to have a single market rather than 28 fragmented markets. We must make the most of the potential we have and to benefit consumers in each country as well.
I would like to say that I am very encouraged by all the questions, by the debate. I see the circular economy and sustainable development, as many have said, as a great opportunity for Europe. But in order to succeed, we need to work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Another long session of answers for you, but we really appreciate the effort. Thank you very much. Now let's go on the fourth and last session of this European Parliament of Enterprises 2016. The session will be on skills. And while I welcome the institutional representatives coming on the podium, I will ask you to look carefully to the video that we have prepared. Please play the video. Now let me welcome our scene setter, Alan Pal, the Secretary General of the European Youth Forum. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to speak in this chamber to you on an issue which is absolutely crucial from the perspective of young people. In many ways, we get hope from the fact that we are the most educated generation today, but we fear at the same time that despite this, the world is changing so fast that this is not enough. Oh, I survived. Thank you. As we embark on a fourth industrial revolution, we witness the hollowing of many traditional jobs. And so we know that we need to really reinvent many things. And education remains probably the best and only guarantee in this future, but it's no longer about more education, but it's about us getting to become more clever. Skills mismatch is an obvious and real concern, and we recognize that although youth unemployment is going down, it's currently at 18% or around, still rather bad, but it's also very different from country to country. But if you look beyond that figure, we see that up to 1 of 3 young people are either in jobs for which they are under or overqualified for. But let's not put the blame on young people, and let's look at what we can do. Partly, our economies are failing to create jobs, so we need more investment. On the other hand, we have not perhaps counseled young people to take alternative paths, such as vocational education, or dare become entrepreneurs. We don't nearly have enough good examples for young people in terms of role models. In this very fastly changing economy, so the question is, how can we adjust young people and people to adjust in this situation? And solutions are twofold. Of course, at the European level, we must get our economic, monetary, and fiscal policies correct to support investment. And this is where EU can do a lot. But I don't want to focus on this right now, because if you look at the long term, we realize that the basic obstacle is in the fact that our educational system is failing in many ways. There are lots of good things, but is it good enough? First, it's way too formal. Our educators, formal educators, think almost that they hold a monopoly on learning. Then it's also very rigid, very difficult to change. Just imagine the poor teachers who always have to discuss what to change in a curricula which is already overcrowded and where they're expected to only add things instead of think about how to change the way that we teach. And for many teachers, they come with academic perspectives, and they're measured on the performance of students based on standardized testing. So we have things that we really need to change. And we want to encourage teachers that bring practitioners and entrepreneurs into classrooms, that go out of the school's environment and do project-based learning. And the role of the teachers in our societies is absolutely crucial. Mind you, in societies, not in the classroom only. So our aim should be to get best and the brightest young people into teaching positions, because soon we will have no choice. Today, in many European countries, the average age of teachers is already so high that even if we take urgent action to fill those positions with young people, we will fail to still fill in the gaps. So we will lack skilled teachers soon enough. But let's see this as an opportunity to change things. Today, OECD countries spend on average $8,000 to $9,000 US dollars per student in their educational systems, mostly public money. Let's imagine if we take a year out of that investment and invest that differently in a wholly different educational experience. We could assign them learning credits for developing themselves outside the formal education, in an environment where collaboration and teamwork, developing leadership skills and communication, creativity are at the heart of the learning, not regurgitating facts as we often see in formal education. Does this sound familiar? Yes, because this is what happens in work-based education. This is what happens when young people participate in youth organizations, when they do projects in their communities. And we already know that economies that focus or, for example, have a very good work-based learning system have much lower unemployment. But instead of imagining complicated policy reforms directed from a European level, we should think, how can we reshuffle some of these resources directly to young people, families, enterprises, youth organizations to make this happen? It would be a game changer, I think, if we start thinking in these ways. 12 years at school, does it matter? 11 years, maybe we can change the part of that education. Basic skills are absolutely crucial, but without the transversal skills, and this is where our formal education fails, we will not have the future where we need to be ready for an automated economy, circular economy, and many other things to look forward to. When we look at things like the skills guarantee, well, again, how can we tap into bottom-up solutions when we look at that? We've learned from the youth guarantee that despite the policy intervention needed to bring young people that are far away from the labor market back in, we see that if we do that from a European level, it's very long and winding, can be complicated, and the coordination can sometimes even be discouraging for reform. So we need game changers in the education. And, well, what can EU do directly otherwise? Today, and I'll end on this point, we spend €2 per young person for programs like Erasmus. Surely, we can look at the European budget, which is a drop in the ocean, but is it the right drop in the ocean? But surely we can see how can we increase that €2 and make sure that that goes beyond the traditional university exchanges to encourage work-based education and project-based learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alan. Now I ask you once again to raise your hand if you want to intervene in this session.
Oh,
please do it.
You had a good speech, see? The people.
Or many questions.
Just keep your hands up. Thank you. Okay, we have taken notes of all those. Thank you very much. Now, and I start giving the floor to number 207, 207.
Bonsoir,
Good afternoon. I'm from a chocolate making company, which is a crafts chocolate factory, and we train an apprentice every year in our workshop. And this means, of course, that they can get a complete vocational experience with qualifications, which means that they are then open to a good professional career with the necessary skills. And as those of us running the company, apprenticeship means that we can guarantee the future of our companies and we're able to transmit our savoir-faire. Unfortunately, there is a bit of an image problem when it comes to apprenticeships, both with parents and students, and it's very difficult to find candidates. We really have to try and get people to appreciate this form of training a little better, and perhaps in schools organize some kind of discovery event in partnership with a company, for example, have the possibility of creating a mini enterprise over a school year. And we really have to encourage more apprentices and more apprenticeships so that we can have a better appreciation of the knowledge they acquire.
108.
Hello, Borislav Vujovic. I am representing real estate brokers from Croatia. This moment we have very strictly law in Croatia who can be broker or cannot be broker, and we have exams and education and everything. This moment a lot of real estate brokers from other EU countries coming to Croatia and make business, but without control. We don't know are they registered in countries where they are from, and they do a lot of damage on our market. Government cannot control them, and can you improve something about that? Thank you.
num